Have you ever wondered if your love story was written long before you met? What if the person who broke your heart, or the one who healed it, was never random at all? And what if your deepest relationship patterns weren't mistakes, but messages? Let's pause here. Imagine it's early morning. You're sitting quietly, the world still half asleep, and the only sound is the soft hum of life waking up. A warm cup of coffee rests in your hands, cooling slowly. In that stillness, a question quietly rises. Why him? Why her? Why did I end up with this person, out of all the people in the world? And if you've never married, maybe the question whispers a little differently. Why have I walked alone for so long? Why has love always felt like something just out of reach? Was it bad timing? Was it just chance? Or was it something deeper? As the years pass, our view of love begins to change. It matures. The wide-eyed wonder of youthful romance starts to give way to quieter, more searching questions. We look back, not just with nostalgia, but with curiosity. We think about the relationships that blossomed and those that wilted. We try to find meaning in the patterns. Why did certain people enter our lives? Why did they leave? Why did some bonds nourish us, while others quietly drained us? This is where Buddhist wisdom offers something both gentle and profound. It tells us, love is not random. According to ancient teachings, the person you marry, or don't marry, is not a matter of coincidence. It's karmic. That may sound mystical, even hard to believe at first. But stay with me. At its core, karma is simply the law of cause and effect. It's the energetic ripple of our past actions, thoughts, and intentions, echoing forward through time, sometimes across lifetimes. This means the people we're drawn to, the ones who hurt us or hold us close, may be part of a story that began long before this lifetime. A story of unfinished lessons, unresolved ties, or old blessings still unfolding. Your current marriage, your past heartbreaks, your experience of love, longing, or loneliness. They may all be threads in a much larger spiritual tapestry, woven not just in this life, but across many. But this isn't about punishment or reward. It's not about blaming yourself for the pain or congratulating yourself for the joy. It's about understanding. It's about stepping far enough back to see that love is more than a feeling, more than a decision. Love is a mirror, a spiritual one. It reflects back to us the energy we carry, the healing we still need, and the lessons we've yet to embrace. In this journey, we'll gently explore how karma shapes who we love, how we love, and why some relationships feel nourishing while others leave us empty. We'll talk about the types of energy that attract certain partners, why painful love patterns repeat, and, most importantly, how we can shift our karmic path forward. So whether you are in a marriage, leaving one, longing for one, or learning to live contentedly alone, this isn't just about romance. It's about recognizing the sacred contracts we carry. It's about awakening to the truth that love doesn't just happen to us, it arises through us. So as we begin this journey into the deeper nature of love, perhaps you're already seeing your past, your present, and your heart's quiet questions in a slightly different light. Wherever you find yourself today, whether partnered, widowed, divorced, or simply at peace in your own company, I invite you to stay with me. Not just to listen with your ears, but with your whole being. Because what we're about to explore together may not only shift the way you understand your relationships, it may quietly shift the way you understand yourself. Lesson 1. How karma shapes the person you marry. We often take comfort in the idea that love just happens, like a spark, a beautiful accident, a perfect moment when eyes meet across a room, and the rest is history. We're drawn to the idea that romance is built on chemistry, on timing, on luck, that it's all spontaneous, magical, meant to be. But Buddhism invites us to look deeper. It whispers an ancient truth. The person you marry or feel deeply drawn to was not chosen by chance. It was shaped by karma. In the West, the word karma is often misunderstood or thrown around loosely. That's karma, we say, when someone gets what they deserve. But in Buddhist teachings, karma isn't about punishment or revenge. It's not some cosmic scoreboard keeping tally of your good and bad deeds. Karma, at its heart, is the law of energetic cause and effect. Every action, every intention, every word and thought creates a ripple, like a pebble dropped into a still pond. And those ripples, both subtle and powerful, can move through not just one lifetime, but many. So what does that have to do with marriage? Quite a lot, actually. From the Buddhist perspective, the bond between two people doesn't begin when they meet. It's remembered. That magnetic pull, that sudden sense of familiarity, or even an unexplained tension when you meet someone, it might not be new. It might be a continuation. Your soul may have already crossed paths with theirs before, in another place, another time, another life. Maybe you loved them. Maybe you betrayed them. Maybe you cared for them through illness or left them during hardship. Whatever it was, the karmic thread remained. And in this lifetime, you're drawn together again. Not to relive the past, but to work through it, to grow, to complete what was once left undone. I remember once meeting Helen and James, an elderly couple attending a Dharma retreat. They had been married for over 50 years. When someone asked them the secret to their long-lasting bond, Helen chuckled and said, "I think we've done this before." James smiled, and in his eyes there was a spark of something ancient and tender. Their marriage hadn't been easy. There were storms, disagreements, times when they almost walked away, but something always kept them together. "I could never explain it," Helen told me. "It always felt like I owed him something, and like he owed me too. Not in a heavy way, just like we weren't finished yet." That, in essence, is karma. Some relationships are soft and supportive. The partners treat each other with kindness, patience, and emotional balance. They seem to grow naturally, side by side. According to Buddhist wisdom, these are often the fruits of good karma, bonds built over lifetimes of honesty, compassion, and mutual care. Other relationships, however, are more challenging, marked by tension, imbalance, or deep emotional pain. These can be signs of karmic debts rising to the surface, unfinished lessons demanding to be faced. Sometimes, the purpose of a relationship is not to fulfill our fantasies of love, but to reveal where we are still wounded, where we're still holding on, where we are still caught in illusions about what love should be. But make no mistake, this doesn't mean we are doomed to suffer. That's not what karma teaches. Karma is not a punishment, it is a reflection. And when we bring awareness to that reflection, we begin to understand. And through understanding, transformation becomes possible. You see, karma isn't a life sentence. It's more like a mirror held up to your soul. The relationship you're in, or the absence of one, might not be the problem, but the message. A message trying to show you something about your inner world. If you've ever wondered, why do I keep attracting people who don't truly love me? Why did I stay in a marriage that left me feeling empty, tired, unseen? Beneath those questions may lie the energetic imprints you've carried, often unconsciously. It could be a karmic pattern of self-abandonment, where you give up pieces of yourself just to be loved. Or maybe it's a fear of loneliness so strong that you settle for anyone who pays attention. Sometimes the lesson is even deeper. Maybe you came into this life to finally learn how to love without attachment, how to stay with someone without clinging, how to leave without bitterness, how to let go without shutting your heart. The Buddha often spoke of Vedana, the feeling tone behind every experience, and how most of us act on our feelings without ever pausing to question them. But karma, he said, doesn't arise from feeling alone. It arises from intention. When you love someone with presence, clarity, and compassion, not from fear, not from ego, you generate a new kind of karma, a lighter one, a more peaceful one. You begin writing a different energetic story. So if you are in a marriage right now, pause and ask yourself, what is this relationship showing me about myself? What energy have I brought into this space? Not just in words, but in presence, in reactions, in expectations. And if you've never been married or are not currently in a relationship, don't ask yourself, why haven't I found love? Instead, ask, what energy have I been sending out into the world? Because love doesn't come just because we want it. It comes when we are ready. And karma doesn't deliver what we long for. It delivers what we are prepared to receive. Lesson 2. Why some marriages feel like struggles. The karmic roots of pain. For those who have weathered not just the occasional argument, but years of quiet suffering, this next part may speak directly to your heart. Perhaps you've sat in silence at the edge of your bed years into a marriage and whispered, why did it end up like this? You might remember the beginning, the laughter, the long conversations, the shared dreams. You may recall the moments when hope bloomed so naturally and you truly believed this person would bring you peace. And yet, here you are. Perhaps you're still married. Perhaps that marriage ended long ago, but your heart still carries bruises from the very bond that once promised love. So why do some marriages, ones that began with sincerity, with warmth, turn into battlegrounds? Why do others slowly dissolve into silence, like two strangers sitting across the same dinner table? From the perspective of Buddhist wisdom, the answer isn't blame. It's not about fault. It's karma. You see, when many people hear the word karma, they assume it means punishment, like some force in the universe has decided to make them suffer for past mistakes. But that's not it at all. Karma isn't vengeance, it's vibration. It's the echo of past energy, returning now to be seen, to be healed, to be transformed. And nowhere is that energy more powerfully activated than in our most intimate relationships. The person you marry doesn't arrive in your life with just their best intentions or their bad habits. They arrive with their past, and so do you. Together, that history, spoken and unspoken, begins to unfold, not to punish, but to reveal what still needs healing. Earlier, we explored how the people we marry often carry reflections of our past, energetic echoes returning for healing. Now, let's look closer at what we each bring into those relationships. Because when two people come together, they don't arrive as blank slates. You carry in your heart the unmet needs from childhood, the invisible wounds no one saw, the longing to be chosen, the fear of being left. You bring with you the model of love you grew up watching, whether it was healthy or painful, nourishing or neglectful. You bring your defenses, your expectations, spoken and unspoken, the silent stories you've told yourself for years about what love should look like, how it should feel, and what you think you deserve. And sometimes you bring something even older. You bring karmic debts, promises once made and broken in a lifetime you no longer remember. You bring betrayals that were never healed, bonds left unfinished, and those energetic threads rise again, through the person standing before you now. In Buddhist teachings, it's said that a powerful karmic connection will always find its way back into your life, not necessarily for romance, but for resolution. So let's pause here and ask, what if your difficult marriage is not a collection of mistakes or mismatched personalities? What if it's something more sacred? What if it's a spiritual contract for growth? I once met a woman named Judith at a small temple in Oregon. She was in her 70s, soft-spoken, wise. She told me she had been married for over 40 years to a man who, in her words, was hard to love. He was distant, often irritable, and rarely affectionate. For decades, she felt invisible, unappreciated, alone in the marriage. But she didn't stay because she lacked strength. She stayed because deep within her, she felt this was part of her path. I wasn't there to fix him, she told me. I was there to learn something I could never have learned from a book or a retreat, something only this relationship could teach me. She paused, then said, I used to think he was the reason I was so unhappy. But now I see he was just the mirror. He showed me where I hadn't yet learned to love myself. Her words stayed with me for a long time, because the people who challenge us the most are often the ones carrying the very lesson our soul needs most to evolve. So if your marriage feels heavy, if you feel exhausted, hurt, or small, Buddhism doesn't tell you to run away from the pain. It gently asks, what is this suffering trying to show me? What karmic pattern is being reawakened? What am I still holding on to? Control, fear, pride that keeps me stuck? Now, let's be clear. This is not a call to spiritualize abuse. If your relationship is emotionally or physically harmful, the karmic lesson may be to leave, to set boundaries, to reclaim your dignity, to break the cycle finally and clearly, not with hatred, but with awareness and strength. Because sometimes karma is not about enduring suffering. Sometimes karma is knowing when to end it. But for many others, the lesson is more subtle. It may be about releasing blame and beginning to heal. It may be about shifting from projection to reflection, from saying, you hurt me, to asking, what inside me is still hurting? Because here's the uncomfortable truth. We often attract the partner who brings our pain to the surface, not to punish us, but to offer a chance to finally heal it. And when two people come together with unhealed wounds, the relationship can slowly become a battlefield. One person feels unloved, the other feels unappreciated. One withdraws, the other chases. Words become weapons, silence becomes distance. Yet beneath the conflict, the soul is still whispering, there's something here you're meant to see. So what do? First, we stop running. We sit in stillness, we breathe, and we ask, what am I learning here? If you're still married but struggling, the lesson may be about presence, forgiveness, or deepening your own self-love. If you've separated, it may be about closure, compassion, or rewriting your beliefs about love. If you've never felt truly seen in a relationship, perhaps the lesson is, We learned that relationships often mirror our wounds, not to trap us in pain, but to guide us toward healing. And healing begins with seeing yourself clearly. The Buddha once said, "Pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional." That simple truth carries deep wisdom. Pain will come. It's part of being alive. But suffering is how we respond to pain when we cling, when we resist, when we refuse to look within. And here's the turning point. The moment you begin to change your understanding, your karma begins to shift. Not all at once, but quietly, patiently, like a river beginning to change its course. Because your relationship, no matter how painful it feels, is not a punishment. It's a path, and every path, when walked with awareness and humility, leads us back to the heart. Lesson 3. Cultivating blessings to attract the partner. You're meant for, in a world that constantly tells us to go out and find the right person, Buddhism gently turns the question around and asks, are you becoming the right person? Because in Buddhist philosophy, love is not a stroke of luck. It's not something you just stumble into one rainy afternoon. Love is something you prepare for. It's something you invite, not by searching for it endlessly, but by nurturing the conditions within yourself that allow it to grow, to stay, to flourish. A meaningful relationship doesn't manifest simply because you hope for it or believe you deserve it. It comes when you've cultivated the inner ground where love can truly take root. At the heart of this understanding lies a concept known as blessings, also referred to as merit. Now, blessings aren't just random good luck or divine rewards. They are the subtle, powerful spiritual fruits of your intentions, your words, and your actions, accumulated over time. And when it comes to love and marriage, blessings matter. In fact, they often matter more than physical attraction, charm, or even compatibility. As Master O Ne Yu once taught, you cannot enter a marriage that is greater than your own blessings. That's a humbling truth, isn't it? Think of blessings as the quiet wealth of the soul. If you live with honesty, kindness, generosity, and respect, especially in how you treat others in love, you build blessings. That energy naturally draws in a partner who resonates with that same frequency. But if your past is scattered with dishonesty, betrayal, manipulation, or emotional neglect, even in small, repeated ways, your blessings begin to diminish. And so does the quality of the relationship energy you attract. This is why two people can feel instant chemistry and yet quickly fall into toxic cycles. Or why someone longing for a loyal, loving partner keeps encountering those who are emotionally unavailable or inconsistent. It's not a punishment, it's a mirror. So how do we shift this? How do we move from longing for love to living in a way that welcomes it? First, by recognizing that the relationship you dream of must begin within you. You want a partner who is emotionally mature, patient, and sincere. Then pause and ask yourself, am I living that way? Not perfectly, but honestly. Sincerely, do I listen with care? Do I speak with clarity rather than manipulation? Do I offer forgiveness, or do I hold on to resentment like armor? These aren't easy questions. But if you want love that's real, deep, and lasting, they're the ones that matter most. Second, take time to reflect on your past, not through the lens of guilt, but through gentleness. Most of us carry emotional residue from relationships long gone, betrayals, abandonments, regrets. And often, we tuck that pain away, burying it in the corners of our hearts, thinking we've moved on. But have we? Previously, we explored how attracting the right partner begins with inner transformation. But even when we do the inner work, there's still one more step many overlook: releasing the past. We often convince ourselves we've moved on. We bury the pain, silence the memories, and say, "I'm over it." But energy doesn't vanish just because we ignore it. It stays, quietly shaping the way we love. If you haven't fully forgiven an ex or yourself, that unresolved pain lingers in your field. It affects how much you trust, how deeply you open your heart, and how quickly you close it when someone gets too close. I once met a man named Charles. He had been divorced for more than 20 years. The marriage ended badly, and he still carried sharp bitterness toward his ex-wife. "She ruined me," he would say, again and again. And yet, he was still looking for love, still dating, still hoping. But love never stayed. Every relationship slipped through his fingers. Eventually, in a quiet moment of reflection, he asked me, "Why does everyone leave?" And the answer, when it finally arrived, was not easy to hear. Because you've never stopped holding on to the one who already left. That moment cracked something open in Charles. He didn't try to win her back. He didn't need to. Instead, he began the real work, not to reconcile, but to release. He stopped casting her as the villain in the story of his life. He meditated. He wrote letters he never sent. He offered silent apologies for the ways he, too, had contributed to the pain of that relationship. And slowly, something in him softened. Less than a year later, Charles met someone new. Not flashy, not dramatic, but genuine, warm, present. And this time he was ready, because he had shifted his karma, not by wishing for a new love, but by cultivating new blessings. Finally, we must learn to live in alignment with love, not just wish for it. If you long for a kind, compassionate partner, then fill your life with kind, compassionate energy. Help others. Speak with honesty. Let go of bitterness and gossip. Keep your heart open even after it's been hurt. Because love, when it comes, reflects not your desire, but the version of yourself you've worked to become. In the end, a partner is not a prize to be won. They are a mirror, and that mirror becomes clearer, more loving, more radiant, the moment your inner world becomes a space where love can breathe. As the Buddha said, just as a candle cannot burn without fire, men cannot live without a spiritual life. In the same way, love cannot survive without inner preparation. So don't just look for love. Live in such a way that love can find you and feel safe to stay. Lesson 4. Breaking the cycle, letting go of past karmic baggage in love. There comes a moment for many people, often in the quiet stretch of later life, when they pause and look back at all the relationships that came and went. The names change, the faces blur, time moves on. But the emotional pattern? It feels hauntingly familiar. The same kind of heartbreak, the same sense of not being seen, the same ache of being unloved. And then the question begins to take shape. Is it always them? Or is it something I'm still carrying with me? In Buddhism, this is not a criticism. It's an invitation, because what you carry, you create, and nowhere is that more apparent than in love. In the last part, we saw how unresolved emotions, whether from heartbreak or betrayal, can silently shape our relationships. Even when we believe we've moved on, what hasn't been healed continues to echo beneath the surface. Sometimes, what lingers isn't just the memory of a failed relationship. It's something much older. It's the belief planted in childhood that we must earn love to be worthy of it. It's the inner voice that whispers, "You're not enough, no matter how much you give." Or it's the quiet rage we've buried deep, anger we deny, yet carry into every interaction, leaving us reactive, guarded, unable to truly let others in. And still, we search for connection. Still, we ask why love never feels whole. But here's the truth. Until you clean the window, the light of love can't shine through. Letting go of karmic baggage isn't about pretending nothing happened. It's not about suppressing pain, bypassing grief, or denying your story. It's about facing it, fully, courageously, compassionately, and then choosing to stop dragging it into every new chapter of your life. I once met a woman named Teresa during a meditation circle in Northern California. She was 68, graceful in presence, soft-spoken, yet deeply insightful. After a painful divorce in her 40s, she had spent nearly 20 years single. She had built a life of quiet reflection and independence. But behind that strength, her heart still longed for companionship. "I do miss having someone beside me," she admitted. "But every time someone shows interest, I shut down. They remind me of my ex," she'd say, or "it's not the right time." As we talked more deeply, the truth emerged. Teresa wasn't afraid of being alone. She was afraid of being hurt again. And so, without realizing it, she kept reliving her wound, keeping people just far enough away that they could never touch the part of her that still ached. It took months of inner work, gentle meditation, forgiveness practices, and raw, honest conversations. Then one day, with tears in her eyes, she said, "I think I've been keeping love out because I've still been looking at it through the eyes of pain." That moment was a shift, a release. And within the year, Teresa met someone, not to save her, not to complete her, but to walk beside her. He wasn't perfect, but he was kind. And most importantly, this time she was ready. Not because he healed her, but because she was no longer haunted by her past. That is karmic liberation. So how do we begin? Start by identifying the patterns. Look at your past relationships with gentle honesty. What do they have in common? Do you see betrayal, abandonment, control, emotional distance? These aren't random. They are mirrors. They are the karmic loops asking to be broken. Next, bring mindfulness to your emotional triggers. When someone says something that deeply wounds you, pause and ask, is this pain from today or from a long time ago? Because often, what feels like a present wound is actually a past echo, still asking to be seen. Then, forgive. Not to excuse what happened, not to forget it, but to reclaim your energy. In Buddhism, forgiveness isn't approval, it's freedom. It's saying, you no longer get to decide how I love. And finally, make space, physically, emotionally, spiritually. Let go of what no longer serves. Burn the old letters. Release the unspoken resentment. Write a letter to your younger self, one filled with compassion. Clean the altar of your heart, so that when love arrives, whether through a person or a deep, unshakable peace, your heart is not just open, it is ready. Because once you release the old pain, new blessings begin to flow. And they don't always come in the form you expect. Sometimes they come as peace, sometimes as quiet wholeness, and sometimes as the beginning of a love that no longer mirrors your wounds, but honors your growth. In the last part, we saw how letting go of past pain opens the door to new blessings, sometimes in the form of love, sometimes in the form of peace. But no matter how it arrives, freedom is always at its core. As the beloved Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh once wrote, "You must love in such a way that the person you love feels free. And that includes yourself. Freedom in love begins with courage. The courage to stop carrying what was never truly yours. The courage to release the stories, identities, and hurts that were never meant to define your path. Because only when we stop clinging to the past can love breathe in the present." Lesson 5. How to build a spiritually aligned relationship. 1. Rooted in compassion and inner peace. If there's one truth we return to again and again on this Buddhist path, it's this. Lasting love is not built on attraction alone. It's not just about that initial spark, the butterflies, the late-night conversations that make you feel seen. It's not about passion that flares up brightly and then fades, or about holding on to someone in the hope they'll fill an emptiness you haven't yet faced. Real love, the kind that nourishes your soul, not just your senses, has deeper roots. It grows from shared values, spiritual presence, and the quiet, everyday practice of compassion. Yet many people spend their lives chasing a perfect partner. They want chemistry, excitement, compatibility. They look for someone who checks all the boxes. But in all that searching, what often gets overlooked is perhaps the most essential piece of all: spiritual alignment. Now, that doesn't mean you both have to follow the same religion or sit on the same cushion each morning to meditate. Spiritual alignment is something deeper. It means you walk through life with similar intentions. You both value peace over power, truth over convenience, humility over ego. And most importantly, you both love from a place of fullness, not from lack. This kind of relationship isn't rare because it's impossible. It's rare because so few people are taught how to prepare for it. We prepare for careers, we prepare for retirement, we even prepare for vacations. But how often are we taught to prepare our hearts, to make our inner world a place where love can feel safe and stay? So, how do we build a relationship that reflects our spiritual path? Once again, the answer begins within. Because the quality of your relationship will always mirror the quality of your inner state. If your mind is filled with anxiety, your love will feel unsettled. If your heart is guarded, your partner may sense that distance. But if your spirit is anchored in compassion, mindfulness, and integrity, then what you offer becomes healing, not just for your partner, but for you. Compassion is the foundation. It's the ability to see your partner not as someone meant to complete you or meet your every need, but as a soul on their own journey. Someone with wounds, someone with fears, someone learning how to grow, just like you. When conflict arises, and it always does in honest relationships, the question isn't, how do I win this argument? It becomes, how do I understand better? How can I soften here? How can I love more skillfully in this moment? I once listened to an elderly couple speak at a temple gathering. They had been married for over 60 years. When someone asked them how they stayed together through all of life's seasons, the husband smiled and said, "We made a decision early on. One of us could be upset, but never both at the same time. If she was on fire, I became the water. If I was the storm, she became the sky." That, my friends, is spiritual partnership. Not because it avoids conflict, but because it meets conflict with calm, with presence, and with compassion. And this brings us to the second pillar, inner peace. Because if you are constantly reactive, emotionally dependent, or energetically chaotic, no relationship can carry that weight for long. In the last part, we explored how inner peace and compassion are the roots of a spiritually aligned relationship. But to truly nurture that kind of love, one more thing is essential: space for self-awareness. This is why solitude matters. This is why reflection matters. Because when two people come together, each grounded in their own peace, each having done the work within, the relationship becomes something sacred. It becomes a sanctuary, not a battlefield. You no longer wrestle for control. You rest in each other. You speak honestly without fear. You love openly without losing yourself. And that's when something beautiful begins to unfold. The quiet, steady foundation of a relationship built not only on attraction, but on shared spiritual practice. This doesn't have to be grand or formal. Maybe it's sitting together in silence at the end of the day. Maybe it's taking a walk after dinner and reflecting on what the day taught you. Maybe it's simply pausing in the morning, holding hands, and whispering a blessing. May we love well today. May we be kind. May we remember what matters. It's not about perfection. It's about intention. Because when both people treat the relationship as something sacred, not a chore to manage or a habit to tolerate, but a living space to tend like a garden, it flourishes. When weeds appear, you pull them early. When drought comes, you water patiently. And when the flowers bloom, you pause to admire them. You don't take the beauty for granted. You celebrate it. Because you know that what you're witnessing is grace. Grace that comes from consistency, from care, from presence. In Buddhism, there's a concept called Kalyana Mitta, a spiritual friend. Someone who walks beside you on the path. Someone who supports you, uplifts you, and gently reminds you of your higher self when you forget. In a truly awakened partnership, your lover becomes that spiritual friend, not your savior, not your possession, but your fellow traveler, walking with you, not ahead, not behind, but beside you. So if you're in a relationship right now, pause and ask yourself, are we growing spiritually together? Or simply growing older together? Are we creating peace? Or just sharing space? And if you're still seeking love, don't just ask, who's out there? Ask, who am I becoming in here? Because the person you attract will not rise above the energy you emit. Love doesn't just stumble across your path. Love recognizes you. And when that love is aligned, emotionally and spiritually, it doesn't feel like escape. It feels like home. Closing reflections, love is karma, and karma is a choice. So what are we to make of it all? The joys and the heartbreaks, the tenderness, the long nights beside someone who lifted us or let us down, the seasons of loneliness, the quiet ache of longing, and yes, even the unexpected peace of solitude. All of it, woven together like golden threads in a karmic tapestry, forms the unique love story of your life. What we've explored today isn't meant to explain away every sorrow or offer a guaranteed path to a perfect marriage. Buddhism doesn't hand out formulas. It offers something far more powerful: perspective. And the perspective it gently offers is this: you do not love at random. You love in alignment with your energy, your karma, and your readiness. The people who enter your life, especially the ones who stir your soul, do not arrive by accident. They are drawn by resonance, by the quiet law of spiritual gravity. Some come to teach, some come to heal, some come to challenge you. Some mirror back what you haven't yet dared to see in yourself. And a few, if you are truly blessed, come to walk beside you in peace. But even the hard ones, the painful ones, they are not mistakes. they are messengers. In the last part, we reflected on how every person who enters your life, even those who bring pain, can become a teacher. And now, we arrive at the heart of the message. The partner who hurt you the most. They gave you the gift of clarity, the one who betrayed your trust. They reminded you of your self-worth, the one who walked away. They taught you how to stand alone and still rise, because love, in every form, leaves behind a teaching. Even in its absence, it whispers lessons, and in that way, nothing is wasted. But here's perhaps the most important truth of all. Karma is not fixed. It is fluid, alive, ever-changing. It doesn't just respond to your past, it listens to your present. It bends in the direction of your intention. And that means this: you're never trapped by the relationships you've had. You are always shaping the love stories you are becoming. So maybe the real question isn't, what happened to me in love? The deeper question is, who am I willing to become so that love can feel sacred again? Can you let go of bitterness and choose compassion instead? Can you stop waiting to be loved and start radiating love in how you speak, how you listen, how you show up? Can you release those old stories about who you are, what you deserve, and how love should look, and trust that the heart knows exactly how to find its way home? If you're in a relationship right now, may you begin to see your spouse not just as a companion, but as a soul evolving side by side with you. Treat your marriage not as a contract to maintain, but as a daily practice, a practice of presence, of patience, of grace. And if you're single, may you let go of the belief that something is missing. You are already whole. Love is not something to chase. It's something you become. And the more aligned you are with peace, the more love will arrive. Not always in romantic form, but always in meaningful form. And if you carry scars from love, may you meet them not with shame, but with reverence. Because those scars, they're sacred. They mean you dared. You opened. You risked something real. That doesn't make you broken. It makes you brave. So as we close this reflection, let this truth settle gently in your heart. Love is karma, but karma is a choice. Every time you forgive, you rewrite it. Every time you act with compassion, you elevate it. Every time you honor your heart, you become a vessel for something deeper than romance, something timeless, something real, something true. If today's message touched your heart, I invite you to pause and reflect. What has love taught you? What has karma revealed to you? And how will you choose to love from this moment forward? If you feel called to walk this path of inner wisdom with us, you are always welcome here. Please subscribe to Buddhism Seeds for more reflections rooted in Buddhist insight, human honesty, and the quiet strength of a soul that never stops growing. And if this video resonated with you, feel free to like, share, and leave a comment below. We'd love to hear, what does love mean to you now? Because in the end, love is not just a feeling. It's the karma we choose to live.